Hey, what's up, guys? This is Mugen Lord here, and today I want to talk about Insomniac and the leaks that's been going on during the week, because more information is trickling out. And what they've done is it formulated a discussion that I want to have with you guys, is because it exposes a lot of things that's going on within the gaming industry behind the scenes. For the simple fact is that AAA gaming has been ridiculous as far as budgets are concerned, and this leak definitely exposed how it has a stranglehold on the industry and how it's impacting the pricing of our games because of these budgets. And then on top of that, journalistic integrity and how these journalists cover the news when it comes to something like this leak that happened for Insomniac Games, that there is a particular bias that's going on and it's being exposed here. So before we dive into this video and just want to give you my deep thoughts on this, make sure you hit that subscribe button, the notification bell for more gaming content here on this channel. So for those of you who don't know, just last week and up until now, Insomniac Games has been hit with a hack, and this hacker group have pretty much held them for ransom and said, if you don't give us $2 million, we're going to leak out over 1 terabyte of files of your current lineup of games, and more specifically the Wolverine game, with which most people are highly anticipating. And they didn't fold. So what happened was they leaked out a lot of information as far as what's been going on behind closed doors within the gaming industry, and what Sony has plans moving forward, and how they're going to distribute their exclusive titles onto multiple platforms in the near future, and also their lineup of games all the way up into 2030 when it comes to Insomniac and what they have moving forward. Now, the Wolverine leaks are out there, and people are really talking about this, and even though there's early footage, people are giving their thoughts and opinions, and I gave my thoughts and opinions on it in the previous video. You can definitely go check that out, but I won't be posting any of the leaked footage or gameplay hairs, because I do not want Sony or Insomniac or YouTube nuking my channel over, you know, alpha footage of a game that's not even coming out anytime soon. But I digress. But it does have the community split. You have one side that says, hey man, I'm really anticipating, you know, this Wolverine game and the Marvel lineup that they have, because during the hack, they also put out the schedule of what they have in store from Insomniac Games for gamers, and most of it is Marvel games. We have Wolverine, we have an upcoming Venom game, and then we have Spider-Man 3, and then we're going to have X-Men around 2029 to 2030. Man, I will be like 41 or maybe 42 by that time the X-Men game release. And of course, we do have a new Ratchet and Clank games that's supposed to come out around that time as well. But it does have people in two different camps. You have people that's all on board for Insomniac Games just working on all Marvel games, and then you have another portion of gamers who's saying that, hey, like, so this is what they're relegated to, just Marvel games? What about different, more innovative IP that Insomniac Games are, you know, known for? They always trying to, you know, test their creativity, but instead now they're regulated to Marvel games. So there's a discussion to be had. But more importantly, what I really want to talk about is the simple fact is the budgets of AAA gaming, because apparently with Insomniac Games, from the leaks, it suggests that Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart was a financial flop. Despite it selling 2.2 million copies, it wasn't enough because of their budget. When it comes to a few of these, you know, YouTubers and gamers on, you know, Twitter giving their personal opinion on it, and I definitely agree with the rule of two, where he talked about the budgets, because from John Cartwright, a journalist, have, you know, exposed the budgets that was leaked out for these games. And Rob from Rule of Two, he said, both Hollywood and the video game industry have a budget problem. No game or movie needs to cost this fucking much. This is embarrassing. Get your shit together, guys. And here are the budgets. These are the budgets of the games that Insomniac Games and the Sony exclusives have cost. So Spider-Man Remastered is cost $39 million to develop. Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart, $81 million. Spider-Man Miles Morales DLC, $156 million. God of War, Ragnarok, around $200 million. The Last of Us Part 2, $221 million budget. And then Spider-Man 2, $315 million budget. That is ridiculous. That costs just as much. That costs just as much as a typical Disney Marvel MCU movie. That is crazy. That is ridiculous. And now we starting to see the bigger picture of what's going on within the industry itself. Think about why these games cost so much on our end as consumers and fans of these games, where we have to pay $70 for these games. Because now that you look at the cost of these budgets for these AAA games, now you can see why these games cost $70. And what's even more crazy is you have companies like Capcom, which I covered. The CEO of Capcom said that, hey, he really wants games to cost more, as he was saying and explaining that games should cost anywhere around $80 to $100. And that's the future that he's looking towards, and many other game companies is looking towards, is because of these budgets. This is why they're nickel and diming us the most when it comes to these games, because of these budgets. And what is really horrible and what's really ridiculous behind all this, these games cost this much and they're paying us a premium price for games that's undercooked, unfinished, is unbalanced, and they're a hot mess. They come out with littered with all these bugs, but yet they want us to pay a premium price. And you have some developers and companies saying that they want to charge us more. Do you see how ridiculous this is? And to point even bigger picture, we have Scirocco, who pretty much essentially said that the PS5 has been out for over 3 years now, and not a single new game from Naughty Dog is even announced. Canceled projects, a concerning ambition for live service, and refusal to let go of the PS4 makes this generation disappointing. While Xbox struggles to meet expectations with titles such as Halo Infinite and Starfield, the PS5 and Xbox Series X are generally great devices surrounded by a fog of confusion in this changing industry. Yeah, so we always talked about this and discussed this, that we're 3 years in, and yet that Microsoft and Sony is still doing cross-generation games, still releasing games on the last generation and on the current generation. Because as we look at the bigger picture, the cost of these games is so astronomical to the point where they have to recoup their sales and rely on the last generation, because the last generation still has a big install base that they can draw from, while at the same time it's hindering what these consoles can actually do. We have still yet to see with the PS5 if developers are able to actually pull as much out of the PS5 and the Xbox Series X. We still haven't seen what these consoles can be capable of. Yes, you still have people that believes that, there's nothing more they can do with these consoles. They have blown their load early as far as drawing as much. But I refuse to believe that the PS5 and the Xbox Series X is done as far as power is concerned and what it's capable of doing. I believe that there's more that can be drawn out of both of these consoles, but they're going to keep relying on last generation consoles in order to recoup sales with their games, then we ain't going to never see that. And we're 3 years in, and there's already rumors that by 2026 Microsoft is going to be releasing their next generation Xbox to try to get ahead of Sony, and that's ridiculous. So if we're already shifting to new consoles already, it goes to show how bland and how unfulfilling this generation of gaming has become, and that's ridiculous. And then to go on to with Naughty Dog and what they've been doing as far as them constantly relying, and this is what's been going on, and people have been making a meme out of this. It's like they only been focusing on, after they done Uncharted, it's just been Last of Us. We've been getting Last of Us titles and then nothing but remasters and then remake of Last of Us games that pretty much not even a decade old yet. And yet we already have remakes, and it's just them just rehashing and reselling the same product over and over again. But it doesn't help that gamers go out and still buy these games. They're just bleeding and milking the fan base dry. And this is why they have to rely on remakes and remasters, because of the cost of these games. And then these live service games that they constantly keep shoving down our throats, that gamers are saying that, hey, we just want a full experience game. And now Sony is starting to realize that, damn, like, this shit is really this shit is really a lot harder than we thought it was going to be. And they have now canceled the Last of Us multiplayer experience that we were supposed to actually see some gameplay at some point, and it never happened. And then you look at Bungie with their situation that's going on, that they have been losing money when it comes to Destiny, and now Sony has to step in and take over control when it comes to Destiny, or when it comes to Bungie as a company. They no longer won't have that freedom to be able to develop the games that they want to develop, now that Sony's going to step in because of their failure of Destiny 2 as of recent, with the ridiculous monetization that they have going on. So how can this be fixed? How? So it seems that Sony themselves are starting to look forward, or starting to look to releasing a lot of their games on multiple platforms. It's called multi-reach and multi-access. And this is from a leak that they were talking about. So Peter Ovo says internal slides obtained from the leak shows that Sony is now planning to go multi-platform. This means at least the next generation could see PlayStation games launch day one on PC. This comes from the section of the slide titled Everywhere Experience with Multi-Platform, Multi-Reach, and Multi-Access. Now, a lot of the Sony fanboys had always clowned Microsoft fanboys and Microsoft in general for having this day one release for PC and Xbox, and also Game Pass. And once again, Microsoft is looking into the future, and they pretty much wanted to do this first, and they're trying to get ahead of this because they saw where the future is going. And Sony fanboys always talked about how Sony, cares about the gamers, cares about the console, and will always release their exclusives on their console before they even think about putting on PC day one. Now you're starting to see that Sony, from what the leaks have shown, that Sony is actually going to go the Microsoft route. Everywhere experience, where you can play on any platform, any device, to be able to play their exclusives day one. And this is where the future is going. This is where Microsoft wanted to get a hold of before their competition. So, graphic of it from Post Up. Breaking news. Internal docs now confirmed that PlayStation is going multi-platform and will be putting their games everywhere. And this is what's going on, because if these budgets continue to get more and more expensive, they ain't going to have no choice. They ain't going to have no choice but to move over to other platforms in order to recoup the cost of a lot of these games. And then, of course, I want to touch bases real quick on how the news is covered when it comes to this Insomniac leak, because there's extreme biases going on. You have Greg Miller, who I could never stand, even back when he was in IGN, pretty much was stating that he would not cover Insomniac's, problem when it comes to the leak. He won't discuss the leaks. He won't talk about the leaks or anything because of the staff and their information being exposed and all this other nonsense. But just not too long ago, they were covering the Capcom leaks. They were covering what happened with CD Projekt Red in the past, Rocksteady with Suicide Squad, also Rockstar when it comes to Grand Theft Auto. And it appears to be a bias when it comes to these journalists, because they're picking and choosing what information they want to cover and what information they don't want to cover. But the point of you being a journalist is to get the news out there, to inform the public about what's going on within the industry that you're a part of. And the fact is that you're choosing not to shows the hypocrisy. Now, a lot of people will argue, well, people's personal information was put out there. Well, that happened the same way with the last couple other leaks that happened, and they still covered it. So there's a clear bias is going on, which is why gamers don't trust journalists at all, because there is a clear bias that's going on within the industry that still haven't, this type of practice still haven't been dealt with yet. And it's only going to get worse if we don't do anything about it or don't call it out. But the overall experience and the overall expectation of AAA gaming, I have no expectation of these no more. It's like AAA gaming is not the same anymore. Gaming is not this haven't been the same anymore. And this is why I look to other places. This is why going to indie developers and checking out these indie games, you're starting to get a reasonable or a bang for your buck for a lot of these games, because these developers are experimenting, trying different things that the mainstream or the AAA companies and studios refuse to try. They just stick to the same formula: remasters, remakes, realism and graphics and stuff like that. And indie developers are trying different things, and it's become a breath of fresh air trying different games from indie developers. And I suggest that you do the same thing. Look for different alternatives. And this industry itself, Hollywood, video games, everything, have also pushed me to start creating content of my own, creating my own kind of media as well, that I've been working on behind the scenes, which I'll reveal next year in 2024. But that's the situation that we're currently in as far as gaming is concerned. And I definitely want to hear your thoughts on it. Do you think we're going to experience a video game market crash in the near future? Do you think that's going to happen? Do you think the gaming market is going to implode on itself, and that we're going to eventually get some form of a reset within the gaming industry itself? Why should games cost this much? Their cost when it comes to developing these games. I definitely want to hear your thoughts in the comment sections below. If you enjoyed this video, definitely hit that like button, the subscribe button for more gaming content here on this channel. This is Mugen Lord, sign off. I'll see you game fiends later. Peace out.